Bonjour, Monsieur Dam. So let's talk a little bit about the future. Think about it. We're using digital to negotiate about our work, right? We send an email, we get a LinkedIn request, but then to execute the job, we still need to fly, we need to take the car, we need to use the train, so we need to displace to go from point A to point B to execute our work. Now, wouldn't it be great if we had an internet which would allow us actually to do that very thing remotely? If our best doctors on the planet could do an operation somewhere else on the planet, our best engineers in Germany could maintain a car in Africa, our best engineers in Rolls-Royce could do the very same on a remote island because a plane had a problem. I could teach somebody how to play the piano, or somebody could teach me how to paint. Now, we can't do that, but we want to do that in the very near future. And we struggled to give it a name, but finally I decided to call that internet the Internet of Skills. And it's contrasting the internet we are trying to build for machines, right? You have heard of Industry 4.0, which is automating manufacturing sites, etc. So we have been empowering with our technology machines, but we failed to empower the human being. So here we are, we're working on this Internet of Skills, and my dream is really to have that type of Internet of Skills democratize labor the very same way as the Internet has democratized knowledge. That's what we want to do. Now, from a tech point of view, you will say, hey, you know what, we are there already. We have machines which could essentially have us do some teleoperation. In fact, I'll show you literally a teleoperating surgeon device later on. But let me zoom out. Let's understand what the internet has really undergone in terms of transformation in the last 30, 40 years. And if you look at the top chart on the right side, this is how our communications looked like 30, 40 years ago. If you're lucky, you had a Siemens video phone. Really lucky. But if you wanted to talk to somebody on that Siemens video phone, you needed that somebody also to have a Siemens video phone, and otherwise it wouldn't work, right? And you would use a network which was pretty lousy, loads of circuitry, probably even somebody manually switching things. Now zoom forward 40 years. We have done a massive amount of research and innovation, and a lot of that actually coming out of Europe. What have we done? Two important things. We invented IP. IP has decoupled the application layer from the link layer from the technology below, so we could scale both. That's really great. And we invented codecs. So we take that for granted, but that allows me today to take a film on my Apple iPhone and play it on my Dell computer. Right? And that's really what enabled this economy to scale, and the rest, as we say, is history. Now, when it comes to these, what we call haptic networks, the ability to transmit physical work and touch, we are just like the Siemens phones of the 1950s and 60s. Why is that? We have equipment today. We have it there. It's super expensive, and it only works with the very same vendor. We want to get out of the vendor lock-in. I want to make sure that in the future, by 2025, 2030, a Google control device works with an ABB sensor. Right? You want to make that to bring down the prices, the costs, and scale the technology. So here we are. That's what we're currently pioneering and around the globe. It's a global initiative trying to come up with new codecs. So we are really after new codecs which would allow us to encode the information in a new way. We are designing an entirely new network, ultra-low latency. Why is that important? Because when you transmit skill, you transmit physical movement, you transmit muscle movement, you transmit action, and you want reaction. Reaction has to come within a millisecond, right? So those among you who do flight simulators, they know that. If the reaction to your action is not happening almost immediately, you get cyber dizzy. Things don't work, control loops become unstable, etc. So we need to make it 1 millisecond. Now let's do the calculus. Speed of light, 1 millisecond buys you 300 kilometers. That means 150 kilometers to go and 150 kilometers to come back, okay? So how do you build a global network, a global internet with that constraint? Now we're doing this right now. I don't want to bore you with the technology, but that's what we're up to. When you're in London, please come and visit my lab. So we have now some of the world's first haptic gloves where you can feel things. Our vision is that when you go shopping on Amazon by 2020, you will be able to feel the sofa, the cushion you're buying. Okay, we have that technology there. We are able to move boxes. We are able to do things now across the Atlantic into China, come and visit me. But what we are really trying to do is to disrupt the industries. And Dominique has said something really wise before. You know, you can come up with the most beautiful piece of technology. If your final customer on the demand side does not understand what that technology is for, they will just not buy it. They will only see the cost rather than the value. So what I've done now in London is I reached out to certain verticals and said, hey guys, let's sit together. Let's do a co-design, what Dominique referred to, really intensely together and see would that type of technology, this ultra-low latency network, this 5G and beyond technology, really make a substantial difference to you as a vertical. So we went to verticals which are either very good or very poor in London, and one of the good ones is the performing arts industry. So there's no sound on this, I'll just talk you through here. You see Ali Hosseini talking here, is one of the leading artists on the planet, working with the National Theatre, the Battersea Arts Centre, and the Young Vic, which is a theatre in London, and us. So we are trying to come up with a new piece of technology which would allow us to disrupt the performing arts world the same way as Netflix has disrupted cinema. The simple question I asked my team is, what does it take me to transmit a signal from point A to B so I could give the same sensations as if I'm in the first row of a Madonna concert, right? The opening of the Olympics. Could we empower the viewers in the theater with that technology? Could we empower the artists to procure new content for arts performances around the world, right? So these are the type of question we're asking with that type of technology. We came together in the National Theatre here with all these people and started designing the technology. And what seemed to be a very simple exercise turned out to be really, really complex. So Dominique was referring to that. It's a really complex exercise. In fact, you know, we started as technology and arts, and we realized what we need to do is really take the end out of that. That's what Ali was saying. Mischa, we need to take the end out of arts and technology. It has to become arts technology. New breed of people who understand both. So you're writing new pieces of art now, which works for technology. We're designing new piece of technology, which works for this type of art, right? So that's one of the verticals we looked at. The other vertical we are very keen on is medical. It's a huge vertical in Europe, particularly. And you see here on the left-hand side, Professor Proka, and I'm very privileged to work with him. He's one of the pioneers in robotic surgery, and he happens to be at King's College in London, so it's easy for me to take the phone and say, hey, Proka, let's do something together. So what you see him here actually doing a remote operation. So he's in London and is doing our operation to the Karolinska Institute in Sweden in real time during the conference. Why do we need robotic surgery? Because it's super precise, almost no blood loss. That means patients can go home after 24 hours, rather than being in the hospital for 6-7 days healing. So there is a huge social impact. There's a huge benefit here. But to really kind of democratize robotic surgery, nobody has done that. And Proka told me, Mischa, please, give me back the feeling of touch, because when these machines go in the human body, I can't feel things anymore. So we did that. Then he asked me, Mischa, you know, I have to traverse all London, from North London to South London, just to be in the operating theatre, not even with the patient, 10 meters beside the patient. Could we make that remote? We're doing this right now. So we designed 5G will be an integral part of that. Slicing, SDN for those skilled in the arts. We're doing this right now. But the one thing surprised me, the third point, he said, Mischa, you know, my biggest problem is to train people, students. I can only do it one by one on this machine. It takes a long time, and if they're really poor in doing that, in the end of the day, you know, the whole effort was for nothing. Would it be great if whilst he does the operation, we could copy-paste that very same skill set in real time, in situ, around the planet, and then enable teaching of any student in the world? And that's what we're working on, that Internet of Skills. So these are the type of challenges we're doing here. On the way, we have pioneered a new finger, which you see here, which Maria presented. And with that, I'm almost finished. The last slide I'm showing you is when I started to talk to consumers. So I said, hey, you know, let me talk to consumers, and ask people, random people in London, what would you do if you had an Internet of Skills? Would you use something where you could actually teleport your skills around the globe, right? So it's a heavily edited video. In the end, you only see 2 interviews. I can send you the link to the full one. Let's see if the sound works.
So, as a creator of video series Digital Futures, which focuses on tech for good, I tend to keep a really close eye on advances that have the capacity to impact our day-to-day lives. The tactile internet for me is certainly one of them. If we can see and hear things that aren't close by, why shouldn't we be able to feel them, right? To be able to use data networks to relay actual human touch would be surreal, and it's attainable. To me, I think the biggest reason to get excited about this is the potential for health and education. Then you've got the marrying of the two worlds of AI and the tactile internet. You could remotely control humanoid robots who would be performing surgery or other public services. It's the immersive nature of something like this that really lights my fire.
It will be so nice when you touch your dad when he's traveling, and then you can go through the computer and say hello and keep a while with him, and then you can kiss him, you can kiss him, and you can kiss him.
So when my daughter said that, I knew we're on the right streak for the development of that Internet of Skills. Thank you very much.
Thank you.